They set traps for Pierre in the election and beyond, but he is probably going to walk out of all of them. Number 1, the first trap was the woke trap. They have been setting this trap for years, politically correct traps. The way he has handled these traps has been to unapologetically munch an apple, and it has been great. Same as his compatriots like Michael Cooper. They unabashedly state what they think. Many conservatives have overcome this kind of trap, victorious, navigating the challenges posed by politically correct police. During the election, others tried to ensnare Pierre with the politically correct trap again with his remark about biological clocks. But it didn't work. Most concede that getting your ducks in a row in Canada is really hard now. That's all ages thinking like that. Whether you're in your 40s, 30s, 20s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, doesn't matter. Whether it's your biological clock ticking, house ownership prospects ticking, retirement hopes ticking, real concerns. Pierre has been working on overcoming the woke trap for many years now. He is very skilled at it, and he has managed it. Number 2, the next trap was the prorogation. The Liberals set a trap for the Conservatives with prorogation. Prorogation in Canada is the suspension of Parliament, halting all legislative business while the government remains in power. In early 2025, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau requested the Governor-General to prorogue Parliament and announced his intention to resign as Liberal leader as soon as a replacement was chosen. This move came at a time when the Liberals were facing intense pressure. All 3 opposition parties, Conservative, Bloc Québécois, and NDP, had signaled their intent to bring down the government in a confidence vote, and polls showed the Conservatives with a commanding lead. By proroguing Parliament, the Liberals paused all parliamentary activity, including people trying to get answers about the green slush funds, giving themselves time to organize the leadership race and introduce a new leader to the public without the immediate threat of a non-confidence vote. This prevented the Conservatives from forcing an election while the Liberals were at their weakest, with an unpopular outgoing leader and internal party turmoil. The prorogation shifted the political narrative from government crisis to a high-profile Liberal leadership campaign, dominating media coverage and potentially improving party fortunes once a new leader was in place. With Parliament suspended, the Conservatives could not immediately capitalize on their polling advantage or the government's vulnerability. They were forced to wait until the new session, by which time the Liberals hoped to be better organized and more competitive. The Liberals' use of prorogation in 2025 was a strategic move to deny the Conservatives the opportunity to defeat a weakened government and force an election on their terms. By suspending Parliament and launching a leadership race, the Liberals set a political trap. They bought time to rebuild while forcing the Conservatives into a holding pattern, unable to act on their advantage until the Liberals were potentially stronger. Number 3, the next trap was the new leader. This was a genius move for Liberals because it deflated the anti-Trudeau sentiment. Poilievre was seen as a strong contender for the Prime Minister's office, especially after Justin Trudeau's political downfall. However, the emergence of another leader complicated his position. Carney's entry into the race revitalized the Liberal Party and posed a direct threat to Pierre's aspirations. Voila, somebody new had appeared, making Pierre seem like an old leftover choice. This worked on simpleton voters, a base reaction, which was terrible. One thing is for certain, Pierre did an amazing job on all those rallies that he held. That is undeniable. Rally after a rally. It was on point and terrific. The podcast question, people can debate that for years. I don't know. Maybe Pierre should have done more podcasts. However, his performance was very good, especially at the rallies, and he was able to, I think, overcome this trap. He performed well. He had a good image. He was positive. Also, think about it. Because of all these traps, he really was hindered with the podcast question. It was quite a scheme and almost impossible for him to overcome. So he did have to navigate the podcast issue with some kind of delicacy, discernment, and he did well. Number 4, the next trap was who the leader was. Sadly, Carney was perfect for certain purposes. He may have looked gray and nerdy, goofy, overly connected to Trudeau, but this was just briar patching. The term briar patching refers to a situation where somebody deliberately maneuvers themselves into a position that appears disadvantaged or harmful to an opponent, but is actually a place of safety, refuge, or advantage for themselves. It is based on the Briar Rabbit story where Briar Fox captures Briar Rabbit and is deciding how to punish him. Briar Rabbit pleads and begs Briar Fox not to throw him into the briar patch, claiming it is the worst possible fate. Tricked by Briar Rabbit's feigned fear, Briar Fox throws him into the briar patch, only for Briar Rabbit to reveal that the briar patch is his home and a safe haven for him, allowing him to escape. Therefore, briar patching means turning a perceived disadvantage or trap into an advantage or escape, often by tricking an opponent into putting you in that situation. It's about using a seemingly negative circumstance to one's benefit. In fact, Carney was a lot cooler than that stylistically, and they knew it. Also, he had a lot of high-class mannerisms that appealed to people. Number 5. The next trap was a demographic trap. Pierre is a little too old to be a millennial. He is a zennial, or one of the very youngest Gen Xers. He tapped into millennial vibes with his wife Anna, who is a millennial. This should have been enough for the crowds, but Carney was just the right age. You see, 2 cohorts dominate in North America, right or wrong. People outside the cohorts, like Gen Z, Gen X, and Silent Generation, often stand sadly, idly outside in the shadows. The dynamic between baby boomers and millennials dominates public discourse and attention, overshadowing other generations like Gen X, Gen Z, and the Silent Generation, primarily due to their significant combined population size, distinct life experiences shaped by different historical and technological eras, squeaky wheel personalities, and their substantial economic and cultural influence. They are in sync with each other, their demographic weight, and often, but not always, their perspectives. The media and public conversation tend to focus on narratives that resonate with large audiences and highlight clear distinctions. This focus can create a feedback loop where the dynamic is discussed precisely because it is already a prominent topic. Millennials tend to seek validation from boomers, often their parents, who represent stability in an otherwise tumultuous world. This creates a cyclical dynamic where both generations are drawn to each other for support, but may inadvertently overshadow other generational voices. Culturally, both generations are heavily influenced by media narratives that emphasize their experiences over others. A significant factor contributing to the dynamic between boomers and millennials is familial relationships. Many millennials are children of baby boomers, thus there exists an inherent bond based on shared history and emotional investment. This connection fosters empathy among boomers towards millennial struggles, while simultaneously reinforcing their own self-importance as providers or mentors. This familiar concern can manifest in various ways: financial support during tough times or emotional backing during life transitions, which strengthens intergenerational ties, but also leads to neglecting the voices of other generations who do not share this direct connection. Pierre didn't fit in exactly with this mutual care dynamic. Millennials saw a safe daddy in Carney. Polyev couldn't compete. Number 6, the major trap was the Trump factor. What to do about Trump's supposed aggressive stance towards Canada. It caught Pierre in a double bind. He had to either let down Trump-supporting conservatives or non-Trump supporting conservatives. It was a terrible bind. Number 7, the next trap was the media. Mainstream media played a significant role in shaping public perception against Polyev. Biased coverage and negative portrayals contributed to his defeat. Things got exciting and hopeful when independent media was allowed into the French debate. It was amazing to see Rebel News and others ask questions. But then, when that started to delaminate by people who just couldn't believe that Rebel News and other independent media were allowed to exist, to be there, well, then that led to no media after the English debate. The absence of a scrum after the English debate significantly impacted the coverage of Pierre Poilievre's campaign by limiting opportunities for direct engagement between journalists and political leaders, and his truth wasn't coming through as well. Number 8, the next trap was the riding trap. The longest ballot committee targeted Carleton, where they managed to place 85 out of 91 candidates on the ballot. This resulted in a ballot that measured nearly 97 centimeters, approximately 38 inches long, and featured 2 columns of names. The committee's goal is to spark a national conversation about electoral reform, so they say, by demonstrating how unwieldy and inefficient such long ballots can be, thereby highlighting issues within the existing electoral framework. But there's a lot of evidence to say that this is just a pretext rationale. The presence of a long ballot had several negative implications for Pierre Poilievre. Number one, voter confusion. With so many options available, voters may have experienced confusion or difficulty in distinguishing between candidates. This could lead to uninformed voting choices or even voter apathy, where individuals choose not to vote at all due to feeling overwhelmed. Number two, vote splitting. A long ballot increases the likelihood of vote splitting. This division can dilute support for a leading candidate and potentially lead to unexpected outcomes. Number three, increased campaigning challenges. The necessity for Pierre's campaign team to differentiate him from numerous other candidates required additional resources and strategic planning. Competing against many voices made it harder for his message to resonate clearly with voters. Number four, perception issues. A lengthy list of candidates can create perceptions about the strength or unity of a party within a riding. If voters perceive that there are too many choices from one side, they may question whether that side is truly representative or cohesive enough to govern effectively. Number five, turnout rates. High numbers of candidates can also affect overall voter turnout rates. If potential supporters feel uncertain about their choice or believe their vote will be diluted among many similar options, they may choose not to participate in the election altogether. Bruce Fanjoy, the Liberal candidate, defeated Pierre. Of course, there's a lot to talk about with respect to the riding, but we are just talking for a moment about the longest ballot. The worry is that the longest ballot members could cause a problem for Pierre in the by-election, but hopefully not. Number 9, the Stornoway trap. The Stornoway saga. Despite losing his seat in Carleton during the federal election, Pierre Poilievre continues to reside at Stornoway, the official residence designated for the leader of the opposition. This arrangement has sparked debate, as the residence is traditionally reserved for the sitting leader of the opposition, a role now held by Andrew Scheer. However, Scheer has stated he does not intend to move into Stornoway, allowing Poilievre to remain there temporarily, e.g. until the by-election in the Battle River Crowfoot riding. While some view this as a breach of protocol, others see it as a practical solution during a transitional period. While some critics tried to make a lot about this issue, in the end this was not a major trap. The stealing of ideas trap. Carney has been stealing Pierre's ideas, but Pierre has been dealing with this trap by continually calling this out, even saying steal them for the good of the country. Some people say that the Conservatives lost the election because Pierre was too weak on issues, others because he was too strong and aggressive. Really, he had to do so much to get out of a million traps. Pierre has shown positive feelings towards faith, and we hope he will continue in his faith journey. Hopefully, he will look to God for answers and wisdom. Reason and sharpness alone won't get him out of future traps, so let's pray for him.